New neighbours moved in next door, and they want to kill me and my family. Let's get straight into that. When my wife and I first got married, we were not the best neighbours. We made too much noise at night and never really bothered to even meet the people living next to us. When we did see them in passing, we avoided eye contact completely. In our defence, we are night owls. I work at night shift, and my wife is stuck with our crying baby boy, who is extremely energetic at night. The schedule alone already creates an obstacle to interacting with our neighbours. Regardless, we made it to a point to change things and actually get to know our new neighbours once they moved in. One night, I left my apartment around midnight and was surprised to see that my neighbours' lights were on. I heard the loud laughter of a woman as I passed their door. Party animals, I chuckled to myself. As I turned the corner of my apartment building, I saw a man in camo pants leaning against his trunk while smoking a cigarette. The truck was parked in a spot for Unit 217, which was the apartment next to mine. I approached him and said, "Hey, are you our new neighbour?" He turned his head and blew his smoke away from me. Maybe. We just moved into 217. We're in 216, I said. "Welcome to the complex." "Thanks. Are you, heading to work now?" "Yeah." I swung my lanyard around my fingers. "I work nights." "Whoa, I work night shifts too." "Oh yeah? What do you do?" "Taxidermy," he said. "It's a family business kind of thing." "Ah, well that explains your hunting gear." "You like to hunt?" he asked as he threw his cigarette onto the asphalt and stomped it in. "Well, my parents used to take me, but I haven't been in years." "Ah, shame. Well, I mean, if you ever want to go, just hit me up. I always try to squeeze in some sessions on weekends or between shifts." "All right, I'll let you know. Anyway, I better." "So what do you do?" he asked. "Oh, I work at a funeral home in town." "Damn, embalming dead bodies, huh?" "Yeah, it's a job. I've grown to love it over time, though." "It's funny, now that I think about it, it's not all that different from taxidermy. But I gotta say, dead animals are not as scary as dead people." "True," I replied. "When it's a person, it hits closer to home. It just takes him getting used to like any new job." He grunted. "Well, we should get together for breakfast or brunch sometime. It'd be fun to get to know our new neighbours, for once." "I feel the same way. It's usually so awkward talking to neighbours these days." "Goddamn boomers, am I right?" We both laughed. "Well, how about next week for brunch?" he asked. Next week's no good," I replied. "Why not?" I paused and thought it was annoying for him to ask for a reason, but I didn't want to be rude or back out at this point. It's just that my wife's really regular. You don't want to be around her at a time of the month." He laughed hysterically, and I grinned. "You're funny," he said. "It's weird. I always imagined morticians as monster mash types or something." I gave a fake chuckle. "Speaking of which, I better get to work." Of course. Sorry I held you up, man." "No, it's totally fine. How about we do brunch after our shifts today? We can keep it light." "For sure. My wife and I are excited to meet your family. Would it be okay if we do it at your place? Our place is still a mess from unpacking." "Sure," I answered. "We'll make pancakes." I started walking away, eager to leave the conversation. "Hey!" he yelled back to my back. "Don't forget your cooler." He picked up my Miller cooler, which served as my lunchbox for work, and handed it to me. I forgot to grab it in my haste to leave. "Oops, thanks." I took the cooler and got in my car. I texted my wife about the brunch plans and groaned to myself. I doubted this guy would become our friend, but at least we'd been on good terms as new neighbours. I finished my shift and came home tired, dreading the thoughts of eating with the neighbours. I brought my mini cooler into our storage room and placed it on our chest freezer. And then I entered the living room to greet my family. "Hey honey, sorry about the last minute brunch plans." "No, don't be. It'd be nice to meet our new neighbours for once," she said. "Yeah, the guy seemed like a kind of a arsehole though. There were knocks at the door. Why were they coming so early?" I stepped over my infant son who was crawling on our living room floor and giggling. I took a deep breath and smiled. I was lucky to have such a great family, and this brunch would be a flyby in an instant. I opened the door for our neighbours, who came in with big smiles on their faces. The woman saw my son and freaked out. "Oh, your baby's so cute!" She bent down to his level, and my son smiled back at her. Weird. When she crouched down, I could see a concealed holster outlined under her shirt. "Nice place you got here." He smelled the air. "You got a dog?" "Nope, just this little guy." I pointed to my son. "I think the previous owners had dogs." "Ah," he said. "Well, how about a tour? We want to get ideas on how to decorate our rooms." "Sorry, man, the other rooms aren't prepared." "It can't be that bad," he said as he started towards the hallway. "No." I grabbed his shoulder and held it, staring him down firmly. I could feel anger building up and making my blood boil. He shrugged my hand away and played it off with a laugh. "All right, no big deal," he said. His wife and my wife were talking happily while I was fuming. We walked to our dining table and sat down. "Coffee?" my wife offered. She saw my face and knew I was angry. "I'd love some," our neighbour said. My wife brought out mugs for all of us and put the coffee pot in the middle of the table with cream and sugar nearby. She returned to the kitchen and continued talking and laughing with the neighbour's wife. My rage curled my hands into fists, and I tuned out the laughter coming from the kitchen. "So, how old's your son?" he asked. "He's 100, I said bluntly. 100 days? He smiled sarcastically. I could have punched his face right then. "How was your shift at the funeral place?" He continued smiling. I said nothing in response, and he continued. "I did some research on that place. A really interesting service you offer. You give discounted prices to families who consent to have the organs removed from the deceased's body? Now what could that be for, I wonder?" My wife and the neighbour wife walked happily to the living room where my son was crawling. By the time I realised what would happen, the neighbour's wife had already picked my son up. She held him in her arms and lifted him up and down playfully. My son was loving it. I got up from the chair to get my son from her. "Hold it," said my neighbour as he pointed a pistol at me. "Honey." I looked at her helplessly as she looked back, confused. She looked again at her son and gasped as the neighbour's wife had aimed her pistol at his head. She whimpered, "Don't hurt my son." "It's time for that tour, boss," my neighbour said. I took him into our storage room at his request. "Open that freezer." He pointed at the chest freezer. I opened it. "Now take that cooler out and open it up." I held the same cooler that he handed me before my shift. I opened it and revealed the human heart resting inside. "Pancakes," he scoffed. "You dogs really played the part, but you'll never be human." "How long have you known?" "We've been tracking you for years. We knew there was a family of werewolves in town, but we didn't have a connection to you until recently. And now we confirmed it. We're not monsters." I did my best to take on a softer tone, but anger still spilled through. "We're good citizens, and we control our transitions." "Maybe you two do, but that son of yours won't be able to control it until he's older, will he?" "We will teach him. We have it under control. Please, just leave us be." "But you can't be left alone," he said angrily. "Destruction goes wherever you go, and I won't make the mistake of showing mercy to your kind like my father did." He was about to squeeze the trigger when he heard the scream of his wife in the next room. He flinched and looked towards the door. I took the opportunity and lunged at his throat. My hands transitioned to wolf claws as they flew and gouged my neighbour's neck. Blood threw straight out as he fired a wayward gunshot that flew over my shoulder. I held his gun arm back, squeezing it in a death grip. He lost grip of the gun and it dropped to the floor. I was enjoying the moment a bit too much. They did threaten my son, after all. I smiled at him as he choked on his own blood. Life left him, and his body plopped to the floor. I ran to the living room. To my relief, I saw my son sitting upright on the ground peacefully. He was chewing on a severed hand with flesh, blood and bones in his jagged teeth. He smiled at me widely and said, "Dada!" Some of the blood dripped onto his chin, and I instinctively grabbed his burp rag and started wiping it off. My wife was washing her hands over the dead body of the neighbour's wife, annoyed that she would be scrubbing human remains out of her nails for the next few days. She looked at me sternly. "Kind of an asshole?" I had no idea they were hunters. I'm sorry for inviting them in. No, she thought for a moment. It had to end this way, and they would never have stopped pursuing us. I picked up my son and held him tightly. The severed hand still hung from his mouth like a giant pacifier. I think we need to move again. She let out a laugh. Yeah. We better be out the door in about 5 minutes. I walked into the kitchen and saw the broken plates and the pancakes that my wife prepared scattered into bits. Oh, what a waste, I sighed. I actually wanted pancakes today. My wife came in, grabbed my hand. You know what I've been craving for a long time? Fresh heart. She smiled wickedly, and we both enjoyed a plate of fresh heart for brunch that morning. Wow, absolutely awesome stuff. As ever, please do let us know down below in the comments what you thought. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And of course, don't forget to hashtag TeamFEAR. I hope you're all well and happy and made it through a grueling week of hard work and are ready for a relaxing weekend with friends and family. And above all, remember, be safe, not sorry.